Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sociological Lens. I am Dr. Dilsora Fozilova. And today's lecture, let me start with a question. Have you ever wondered who's watching you while you scroll your social media, search for products, or use navigation apps? What does it mean when your every click, every search, every lookup for something, every like on Facebook, every dislike on YouTube can be tracked, analyzed, and predicted? Today, we are going to talk about Shoshana Zuboff's surveillance capitalism, the term um, she uses to raise significant question about our privacy, power, and control in the digital age. Zuboff explores how technology giants like Facebook and Google and YouTube and others have turned personal data into commodity, shaping not only the data markets, but also our daily lives and behaviors. Let me ask another question. How much of what you see and do online is truly driven by you, by your desires? And how much is by invisible system of surveillance capitalism? Zuboff's work introduces us the idea that we are not just users of free services, but the raw material for a new type of economy where the data is mined, sold, and used to influence future behavior. She calls this the age of instrumentarian power. We will talk about instrumentarian power in a bit and in a deeper level, where big tech firms, companies don't just watch us, they aim to shape and control our actions and decisions at the granular level. As we delve into this lecture, I want you to think about how surveillance capitalism plays a huge role in our social anxieties. How does knowing you're constantly being watched or observed by others affect your behavior? And what are the broader social implications of this kind of pervasive surveillance on a societal level? In today's class, we will discuss these questions, unpack Zuboff's main arguments, and examine how this new economy links to issues of fear, culture, and the erosion of personal autonomy. As we explore these ideas, think critically about how surveillance capitalism influences your own experiences online, how it may shape society at large, how much of our what we do and how we think is influenced by the ideas provided in social media and other media products. Let's delve into our lecture. By the way, this having this picture of mine in the slide reminded me that I have a YouTube channel that's called Sociological Lens, where I share the lectures I do for my students. Please take a look. If you like, you can subscribe it. It might be helpful. Some of the topics I lecture might help you. And also that will help me to, as we talk about surveillance capitalism, we learn that every click we do contributes to this algorithms spread of lectures like this, and that might increase the possibility of students watching these videos, and maybe it will be helpful for somebody. So with that, who is Shoshana Zuboff? Shoshana Zuboff is a Harvard-based American scholar, and she is often called the Karl Marx of our time. When you look at her publishings, her books, you can truly see why she's called or compared to Marx. Her first book is published in 1988, and that was based on her PhD. That's called In the Age of the Smart Machine and the Future of Work and Power. When we think about work and power, we certainly see Karl Marx in that. And her second book is The Support Economy, Why Corporations Are Failing Individuals in the Next Episode of Capitalism. Now you can see further, she's talking about capitalism like Marx. And then the third one, the one we are going to talk about, is The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, the fight for a human future in the new frontier of power, that was published in 2019. I still have sore throat, sorry about that. Shoshana Zuboff, if you pay attention to the names, she started somewhere. She has a mission, and she is talking about this smart machine and support economy, and then how that's interacting with capitalism, and she's kind of like more the time passes and everything is changing, she is exploring the new way of technologies are developing, internet is developing, everything else is developing, and there she's talking about them. So what is surveillance capitalism? Surveillance capitalism, as we said, a term coined by Shoshana Zuboff, it refers to a new economic system that emerged in the 21st century. This system is characterized by the commodification of personal data acquired through surveillance and its subsequent use for profit. Now let's talk a little bit about capitalism and surveillance. What is capitalism and what's surveillance? Capitalism, basically it is an economic system where there's two classes. There is bourgeois, that is who owns the means of production, the wealthy layer of society. The other class is proletariat, who sells their labor to a bourgeois. So they sell their labor, get money for living, for their families, and they have nothing but their labor. And it may be a little bit different. The thinking about proletariat and bourgeois can be different in our time, because all Marx could see is proletariat has nothing but the my apologies. I had to go outside and check where this bang is coming from. So anyways, that capitalism is the main purpose of capitalism. Main goal of capitalism is making profit, making work efficient and making profit. And what's surveillance? Surveillance is basically watching other people by some people, right? The idea of surveillance is coming from history, that, even in a religious sense, that, there is God is always watching you. You are being surveilled by God. Although you don't see God is watching you, you think that God is watching you. Therefore, you may modify your behavior based on that. While you can, if you want to do something and thinking that God is watching you, may help you to alter your behavior, right? That's surveillance. And later on, Foucault writes about Bentham's panopticon. Panopticon is basically a tower built in the middle of prison. The prison has this small rooms, their inmates live there, and the people from the tower can watch them. So basically the inmates cannot see the security guards from the tower, but security guards can see them. Therefore, even if the security guards are not watching inmates, the inmates will think somebody might be watching them. Therefore, they alter their behavior. Why I'm saying that? actually that, that altering your behavior, influencing your behavior is part of today's conversation. So look at this carefully. And Zuboff is talking about two different things. Before this big boom happened and surveillance capitalism became a thing, there was behavioral reinvestment cycle. For example, if you write something on search box, it might make predictions about user may have formal education, user may be hurrying because the user made a mistake here, or maybe user extroverted because the question is what is the tallest mountain ever, right? So this goes through this search engine. There is a user there, service improvement that improves, and analytics, and then rendering behavior that just goes through this. So the customer, if you pay attention, is a user. Product is software. Your data that whatever you put over there, whatever they extracted from this data, is to improve software, right? In the surveillance capitalism, Zuboff says there was a data exhaust during this time. There was a lot of data was coming that wasn't used, and that was building up a lot of data about us. Therefore, that led to develop or form surveillance capitalism. In the surveillance capitalism, customers are not users, but the customers are advertisers. Here, we are the ones users, therefore software is created for us to improve work, right? Here, the customers are people who are advertising. Products are not softwares now. Products are the predictions about us. And our data is used to improve predictions. In a bit, I will talk more about this. So now, this is what we were looking at earlier. And now new system developed here, according to Zuboff, and there is new means of production. All this information gathered from it, it's not the information you're putting out there, but the other data extracted from our face, from our emotions, from our attitudes towards certain things, from our desires, likes and dislikes, and then therefore all this data used for predicting your behavior, future behavior. So there are market for buying that information, and they would love to have that information. Therefore, they can modify what they can offer you based on your behavior. It can be a little bit challenging in the beginning, but I promise you it will get more clear as we talk about this. So surveillance capitalism, therefore, is a distributed and largely uncontested new expression of power, which constitutes hidden mechanisms of extraction, commodification, and control that threatens core values such as freedom, democracy, and privacy. It's a market-driven process where the commodity for sale is your personal data, and the capture and the prediction of this data relies on mass surveillance of the internet. This is coming from Holloway, who writes in the beginning of Zuboff's book. Surveillance capitalism, Zuboff says, was pioneered at Google and then at later Facebook, in the same way how capitalism was pioneered at Ford and GM. And now think about how Ford and GM started this manufacturing cars, and the main thing was at that time in these manufacturing companies, everybody did one part of the work, And then they all day, they did something, and then by many people doing one thing at a time, one person does one thing and the second person does another thing, and that increased efficiency of our work and the increased profit. That was actual capitalism. And in our time, she is talking about just like that, like how Ford and GM started capitalism, mass production and managerial capitalism, and now same thing started by Google and Facebook. And she takes us through in the first chapter the history of this, how this everything happened. She talks a lot about Silicon Valley, dot-com bust, and then creation of Google, and when this all started and how it became a big game. She talks about success of Apple. She talks about all these different things tried by these companies, and many times they were taken to a court for installing certain cameras for the stuff they should not install. For example, she talks about there was a doll that had a camera in the doll's eyes. Therefore, the manufacturing company was taken to a court. And then she talks about all these court processes being long and just very hard to achieve something. And she says that these companies can end up paying a fee for, because of this courts, but then they did not stop. They will continue what they were doing in a different way. And then just, every time when they asked, like, why did you do that? There was like somebody made a mistake or somebody didn't know what they were doing, and that will not happen again. And then there was a microphone found in something else, camera found in something else, so on and on and on. She talks about this stuff. She talks about the success of Apple and its electronics sold on the conceit of consumer choice. And then she also talks about how the surveillance favorable environment created by the US National Security Agency, NSA, and CIA, because of their investment in the war in terror. At the time, they wanted to surveil certain communities, certain chains of conversations through media, and the chains of the money exchange and all of those, because of this war on terror, and that was sold to Google. Therefore, she is talking about this environment was created by US National Security Agency and the CIA because of their investment in the war on terrorism. So her first argument is data extraction. And it's very interesting that she is not talking about the data you're putting out there on your Facebook page or Instagram or Snapchat. Honestly, I don't even know what Instagram and Snapchat is. We learned about Facebook when we were younger, and then it still remains. So then later on, it became not interesting to explore new areas, new platforms. So Zuboff argues that tech companies, notably Google and Facebook, collect a vast amount of personal data, often without users' full awareness or consent. This data is harvested to create behavioral predictions that companies can sell to advertisers, creating a new economic system driven by surveillance. Now, she is not talking about the pictures you put on your Facebook or the stuff you're updating on Facebook. She's talking about the data this big tech companies extracting from those information you put out there. She tells a story about this woman being that she was pregnant through internet, that internet was advertising certain pregnancy products and baby products, and she thought like, why I'm getting this stuff? And she soon learned that she was pregnant. Before she learned that she was pregnant, the internet was sending her this advertising this baby products and pregnancy products. And then she learned that maybe a while before that, she changed her products that she was ordering from Amazon. She was ordering like creams and shampoos and other stuff, soaps and stuff from Amazon for a while. And then all of a sudden, she started not liking the scented products. She changed it from scented products to non-scented products. Now, that is information about her. Her age matters, that how old is she? Like she is in the age of, let's say, 20 to 45. There's a chance that she can be pregnant. And then millions of women who changed their product from scented products to non-scented products often end up being pregnant. And this is not 100%. Nobody knows that's 100%. Some people may just change their product. But most of the time, this was the case. So not only one data, but data gathered from thousands and thousands of women let them know that this woman can be pregnant. And in this case, they were right? She was pregnant. So based on this kind of like a large amount of surplus data, they can learn about the behavior and what is cause behind it, and then they can predict other stuff that they can push some, for example, check if you're pregnant kind of stuff, or or baby stuff, right? So that is one example. Also, there's an example, for example, that people are living in Vancouver or the Okanagan, right? That is a good piece of information to send some businesses that targeted advertising for businesses around you. That is very important information. Your age is very important information. That's why when you're signing into Facebook or other places, they ask your age, ask certain things that you never think that maybe, the data, they can make money out of it, but they do that. So this information you're giving them, sometimes taken from you without your full awareness and used to target you for certain businesses, certain products, and maybe influence your behaviors towards this stuff. So that's her argument about data extraction. Not the data you're putting out there, but the data they want to take from you. Sometimes in some countries, the facial expressions are taken for facial recognition these days. We can talk about China doing that stuff, or in other countries, you can see this, the facial recognition machines are being created, and that is based on the large scale data extraction from people. And then also the Facebook, for example, there was like a like and dislike kind of things, and they increased that, the emojis you can click. It might be like you can think like, oh, there is a more way of expressing yourself, but there is also that capitalist's intention of knowing more how you're feeling about the product, how you're feeling about certain thing, right? If you like it, okay, that gives them idea about this person likes this person disliked this. I recently actually clicked the car on Facebook that was made by Toyota. It was just kind of like totally different, unique style, and the color was kind of like a rust color, and I just clicked that. I clicked that, and after that, every single day, every time when I open social media or internet, first thing I see is that Toyota. So that is just keep pushing you, or kind of like a reminding you that car, reminding you that you were thinking about that. By doing that, it brings you more, convinces you more about that product. Over time, you may think like, I think I like this car, right? So that's the kind of influence the internet does in day-to-day life over people. Behavioral modification. Zuboff highlights how surveillance capitalism moves towards actively modifying your behavior. The feedback loops creating by algorithm-driven platforms, think social media notifications, search results, and targeting advertisements, are designed to nudge users towards actions that benefit corporate interests. Just like I said about the Toyota, um, as soon as you like something, as soon as you click, if you comment, that's best thing. They now learn about you, and then there's the first thing is this person needs a car. The second thing is this person likes Toyota, and the third thing is what was the price range of that Toyota. And there's all kinds of information they get from us based on what we click on internet. Therefore, they can alter our behavior based on learning what we like and dislike. So there is a large benefit for the capitalists to know what we like, and so they can sell their product to us. One of the concerns Zuboff has is this all surveillance and everything is a loss of autonomy and privacy. For example, if you wanted to have, let's say, pizza dinner or pasta dinner for tonight, and you write pasta dinner on your Google search, and then it shows you the places that might have pasta dishes. And then by just clicking or finding through them, that's what's sent to you. You're basically avoiding the other ones, smaller ones, maybe the ones not, put their advertising out there, to not having a chance to serve you. Maybe there is a better way of getting food, maybe cheaper one is very close to your home and everything. But because you just allow yourself to just go to internet and find through internet, and your behavior is basically controlled and change it. And every time when it's at that time of the day, for example, whenever you were looking for pasta dish, there can be new advertisings pop up and then tell us you there is a very good restaurant is happening, or restaurant is giving 15% off for Tuesday night, or the half wine, like whatever it is, right? So therefore you're just basically following that and liking that. I asked my students, I said, do you mind targeted advertising? Do you like for example, you're into technology, you're into books, you're into fashion, you're into nutrition, right? So whatever you're putting out there, like more of that is being sent to you. Do you mind that? And half of the class said they don't mind it. They like to be served that way, right? They see everything just coming towards them, and they know because that's their interests, and that's what's happening. And that's what Zuboff takes as a problem. She says that by allowing these corporations to, attack us with this targeted advertising, they basically taking our autonomy while they are also breaching our privacy. They are into our, the what we're interested with and our lives and our age and our what we do, where we go, and what kind of connections we have, what we talk about. Like everything is surveilled, not the ones only we don't mind to give, but the ones we would like to keep for ourselves. So privacy is one of her concerns. Zuboff asserts that the system undermines individual autonomy by commodifying private experiences, turning human behavior into predictable and manipulable resource. She argues that people's decisions, habits, and preferences are increasingly shaped by algorithmic interventions. So we are basically in day-to-day lives manipulated by this advertisings and other stuff, according to this book, and that is quite concerning for Zuboff. And she talks about the inequality of knowledge. Basically, the mainstream society, the large society, does not have much access to the information this capitalist is gathering from us. Capitalists know all about our psychology, all about our behavioral patterns, everything we may and can do, and they know about that. They know the times, they know our attitudes, they know how we like or dislike stuff more than our mothers do, more than our loved ones do. Therefore, there's that her concern is that there's an inequality of knowledge. We don't know the stuff they know. Therefore, they're controlling us. The Foucault argues that the information or knowledge is a power, and the Zuboff's argument here is they have power over us. By learning our behavior, attitudes, likes, dislikes, our patterns, our age, and our location, our everything, they basically can control us. We will fall into one or other category and nothing else. We don't have experience, authentic experience in our lives. We cannot live the life how we desire, right? A core aspect of surveillance capitalism in the asymmetry between the knowledge held by the tech companies and that available to the public. Zuboff refers to this as an epidemic inequality where a few corporations hold unprecedented amounts of data and understanding about human behavior, giving them significant power over society. She has a very strong argument when it comes to inequality of knowledge. Erosion of democracy and freedom. This is another very good point Zuboff makes. She says people are influenced by fears. Therefore, the big tech companies, corporations, learn about our fears, our emotions, what we are sensitive to, and what are our fears and how scared we are. We study our lives and our emotions. They study our fears and all of those. And then the politicians who are trying to come to power use this knowledge, and these companies serve them or help them to exaggerate these fears, and then these people come out like heroes to save us from it. So I stopped for a second because I was thinking that in Trump time, in the Trump's first time when he was elected and run for the office, what was his main argument? His main argument was the immigrants coming and taking your job. One of the fears exist in society, but he exaggerated that. These people bring drugs and crime. this anxiety exists in society, but he exaggerated that. These people are rapists, these people are, they're barbarian, they are very bad for our country, he said, and exaggerated the existing fears. And then he said, I'll build a wall. I will not let these people to come in, right? And it worked. Why? Because people have that anxieties. People have families, they have children, and they don't want their children be influenced with drugs or any crimes and stuff. They want crimeless and drugless society, and somehow that is connected to immigrants, and this person is trying to save them, and then they would like to support that nominee, or they would like to support that candidate. So basically, what Zuboff is arguing here is by studying our fears and exaggerating them and selling this information to these politicians so they can come out and talk about that, exaggerate them, and then trying to be the savior, trying to be the heroes works for them, because that's we are living in a the political system that's built on fear. So she says, she warns that surveillance capitalism threatens democracy and personal freedom by shifting power away from individuals and democratic institutions to corporations that operate beyond traditional checks and balances. The system perpetuates exploitation, further concentration of wealth and influence in the hands of the few tech giants. And she also talks about this companies influencing the behavior, attitudes of people, learning about their vulnerabilities, and then kind of leading them towards voting for certain person in the political elections. Also, Zuboff talks about the instrumentarian power. Let's read this. The ability of corporations to use data-driven technologies to shape, predict, and influence human behavior. This power operates by collecting vast amounts of personal data and using it to create algorithms that steer people towards specific actions or decisions, often without their awareness. It differs from traditional forms of power because it does not aim to dominate or control society through coercion, but rather to softly or subtly modify behavior for profit by transforming human experience into measurable data. The instrumentarian power, therefore, is all this information gathered from us is used to create predictable behaviors that predict our behaviors based on that data. Targeted advertising, our facial recognitions, everything about us becomes data. We are the resources. The data we are giving to these tech companies are the product they want, right? They want this product, and they use it for creating different sorts of products that tells them about our behavior, our attitudes, and everything about that. The difference, she's saying, the control or domination before was coercive. People had to use coercive means to control people. Today, we don't have to use coercive means of means to control people. We have to just get the information, learn about them, know everything about them, and then control them the way we want. That's instrumentarian power. In Taylorism, people's people's bodies study it and everything is rationalized based on that. For example, you go to work 8 o'clock and between 8 to 12 o'clock, that's best time. You are not tired, you are clear about stuff, your mind is clear, you can do best work. And then after that, you start getting tired. Therefore, that in a new managerial system, they will give you half an hour or 1 hour break so you can eat, you can, rejuvenate, and you become more profitable or efficient again. That's Taylorism based on the data studied about the human organism. They can create this kind of system, right? In the instrumentarian power, it's the same thing in a very deep and larger scale. Everything about us is studied, everything we do is controlled. That is instrumentarian power. And she talks a lot about ethical and social implications of surveillance capitalism. She says the exploitation of personal data, the potential for discrimination and inequality, and the loss of human agency in decision-making processes. Now, from the actuarial system or actuarial politics, we know that certain groups are studied based on their behavior, and then that data creates large groups to watch to prevent any kind of crime, which leads to profiling in society. For example, in the airports, there's a conversations about certain people with beard can be, just checked extra times because they look like terrorists, or people with with tattoos, like, I don't know, like maybe all these kinds of elements are gathered to create this deviant groups. Therefore, the crime can be prevented. So it's the same thing happening here. There are certain data taken from people to exploit their personal data, discriminate them, or create further inequality in society. Also, this is a way of she's talking about loss of human agency. You cannot make decision without being influenced by this very well made and articulated advertising is that tailored for your needs. Like, the advertising industry today is based on the psychology of people. Like, what words are the buzzwords? What words are staying in your mind? If the music and the words are put together, you can see a lot of the time some of the phone numbers being, people are singing phone numbers, right? This is basically people learn or memorize faster if that is easier, like a song, right? It's just a fun time and everything. So basically, human psychology, human attitudes, everything about us is studied to control us. Therefore, we are missing out to have, there's a loss of human agency. We cannot make our decisions because there is a big powers studying our psychology to create this stuff for us. The commodification of human experience is not only leads to the exploitation of individuals' personal data, but also diminishes the richness and authenticity of human life. I can't even read. Reducing it into mere economic transactions. Again, she's talking about authenticity of our experiences. She has a chapter about Pokemon Go, and honestly, I don't know what Pokemon Go is. I asked from everybody when I read this and tried to understand it. I still don't understand what Pokemon is. And based on this, all the information I read in this chapter, it is like something created by Google Earth that you can search, and groups of people go out and have fun, and then they can go and find this Pokemon. She says here, Pokemon Go was a worldwide experiment using remote control means to control engineer behavior and fulfill capital's tendencies while the player is having great time. She talks about this, first of all, the Google Earth is used for GPSs, and she talks about GPS tracking our location and where we go. And the location is also installed in our, the phones and stuff. So wherever we go, whatever we search, it says, can you allow me to use your location? And you click yes, because you're looking for a business, right? And then generates so much information around that and then finds what you're looking for. On one hand, that's what we want. We want to easily find stuff. We're looking for, let's say, McDonald's. We're looking for train station. We're looking for a restaurant. We can easily find those places. Yet this is the other data about your location, about your movements, about what you're interested is being tracked by the system, right? So it's okay to do one thing, but there are a lot of not okay stuff is being done while you don't know it. And then she talks about how that's how it started. And the Pokemon Go was an experiment, she says. This is an experiment that used that what they have and took to a different level. And I found this stuff actually on internet. It says like Pokemon are for paying customers only. So that was taking people, my understanding, to these businesses and then making people buy something while they have fun. So she's not just coming up with these ideas. She checks everything that, how they did it, if there was a profit from these companies to Google Earth. And she finds, yes, there was a profit from bringing people to these local businesses, right? She says Pokemon Go is a little Google developed game on top of a big game. So basically there's a big stuff is happening. This was just a small experiment. And then lure model was this, she talks about how these companies were paying Google Earth for people who are coming for Pokemon. And I don't know if you heard this scandal in Cambridge Analytica. So basically, this Christopher Wiley comes out and talks about how internet was used to, observe people and influence their behavior towards voters. Since Christopher Wiley blew the whistle in the Observer, developments have been rapid. Here's what we know about the analytics firm Facebook and Trump's election team. So they were basically teaming up for helping Trump to win the elections. And then that this person came out and told all about that. So basically it was about data analysis and predictions, targeting inner demons and fears and vulnerabilities of people, paranoia of people. As I mentioned earlier, that people have these fears and anxieties in society. That's what we are learning in our class. So the fear is a fabric of society. And learning about that fears or inner demons and vulnerabilities of people and using this to win the game is just too much, because that is kind of dangerous for democracy. Influencing voters, he talked about triggering emotions and responding to those emotions. First they exaggerate emotions, first they trigger emotions, and then there is a hero comes out and talks about saving people, right? Let's talk about that. Those are the main arguments by Shoshana Zuboff. And then if we think about how we can connect this all to deviant behavior, there is some of the things I brought here. Behavioral data collection, just taking our data without making us know, that leads to social stigmatization, normalization of surveillance. Today, the surveillance is normalized. And in um, one of her chapters, she talks about how people are being okay with surveillance capitalism. She says, if you are buying iPhone, there is 8 page of written, very small letters, written form that you need to agree. And this is just not just happening. They went through a lot of courts, and therefore they need your signature. But the bad part is, when we want this iPhone, regardless of what's in that agreement, if we cannot buy this iPhone without signing that, we will sign it because we want it. All this horrible stuff might be there and telling us that you will be observed, and there is just so many things coming from that. But we don't even bother reading it because we want this iPhone. It's just that's what we want. And for that reason, also, those writings created very small and making it very hard for people to read. And when we are buying a computer, for example, it's even larger. And she talks about some of them being, so many pages, and you need like hours and hours to study and understand these agreements that you're signing. So basically, they're normalizing this surveillance by using certain methods of not knowing, making you not to be interested with the privacy elements, right? Ethical and social implications. There is a privacy concern, biases and discriminations towards people, loss of autonomy and social manipulation, and then social control mechanisms, predictive policing and profiling that I talked about, actuarial policing. Those are the stuff we can individually explore and connect with a deviant behavior. And each of them we can explore and learn that it's not okay for the mainstream society, but because we're normalizing it, because we're closing our eyes from these agreements, because we're okay being okay targeted, it just kind of ingrained in society in a way that is just becoming normal. How about fears? We have fears everywhere in our society. It's a social fabric. People do fear from invasion of their privacy, loss of control, behavioral manipulation. When we understand that our behavior is being manipulated, there can be anxieties and fear from that manipulation, erosion of trust, social isolation, threat to democracy. Actually, I got H there. Economic insecurity, fear of behavioral predictions, anxiety in digital spaces. Those are the fears we have in our society. So what we need to do, so what can we do to prevent this? And, I think the importance of resisting and challenging all this surveillance capitalism is very important. Also, making people aware of it, making people understand of it, helps to making their own decisions based on their awareness, right? Potential solutions such as redefining data rights, establishing new regulations in the policy level, and promoting alternative economic models can be some of the potential solutions. But also, as we talk about that, you can think that it's not the easy thing is to do because it's everywhere in our society. We can take small steps to do some stuff. However, it's not something happening very fast. Zuboff advocates for the protection of individual privacy rights, the implementation of robust data regulations, and the development of alternative economic models. Well, she says if you don't have to use this, maybe you don't need to use too much of them. Maybe we have to limit how much we allow ourselves to get into this stuff and keep our experiences more authentic. And, it's just, I'm very pessimistic when it comes to technology use in our time. The more and more the younger generations are getting into that. And we, I when I teach this, I sometimes have the pictures of zombies on my PowerPoints to see like that's what we became. Actually, we are always, watching this media and stuff and letting that to take over us. It's still taking our time, distracting us, kind of showing us that what kind of decisions we should make, and that is a lot of control. So in surveillance capitalism, also there is a idea that, being controlled, every aspect of your life being controlled by this capitalist is kind of parallel to totalitarian control. In totalitarian control, we study Hannah Arendt's totalitarian, the origins of totalitarianism. People all aspects of human life will be controlled by the government. But in the surveillance capitalism, it's not the government, but this is capitalist. It's taking over and controlling all aspects of our lives. Surveillance capitalism, therefore, creates an environment where the pervasive collection and use of our personal data foster a range of social fears and anxieties in society. By understanding these dynamics, individuals and policymakers can make better choices or make better decisions about, all the psychological, societal impacts of living in a world where surveillance is a central feature of economic and social life. So this was Shoshana Zuboff's The Surveillance Capitalism. We explored some of the main arguments by Shoshana Zuboff. She talks about extraction of data. She talks about behavioral surplus and being used for influence our behavior. She talks about breach of privacy and autonomy. She talks about, dangers to democracy. She talks all about, explains how this thing is happening. And I hope this just kind of helps you to understand, another way of totalitarian control in society, not coercive way, but it's in a way that we don't even sense it. And I hope you also think about, therefore, the totalitarianism doesn't have to be, the coercive. There's other ways of control society without doing all that. So main things we study today is data extraction and analysis, behavioral surplus, prediction products, modification of behavior, market for behavioral products, privacy and autonomy of an individual, risk for democracy. That's just a summary of our lecture. Thank you for watching it, and I hope we can have good conversation in our discussion groups, and I'll talk to you next time.